Tallin, Estonia.
Dr. Sydney Soclof.
The Baltic states.
Here is the Baltic region with Scandinavia and the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
Here is the Baltic Sea and the surrounding countries of Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Germany, Poland.
And on the east there is Russia and the Baltic republics of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
Note that there is a rather small and isolated part of Russia sandwiched between Lithuania and Poland, with the principal city being Kaliningrad, which prior to World War II was Königsberg in East Prussia.
The Baltic Sea is connected to the North Sea by the Straits of the Skagerrak between Denmark and Norway, and the Kattegat between Denmark and Sweden, and then the narrow strait between Denmark and Sweden near Copenhagen called the Øresund.
Here is Sweden, Finland and the Baltic republics of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania.
This is a satellite view of the Baltic Sea region.
The Baltic republics of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are bordered by Russia on the east, Belarus on the south, and Poland in the west.
Here again is that little piece of Russia called Kaliningrad, sandwiched in between Lithuania on the east and Poland on the west.
Here are the capital cities of the three Baltic states: Tallinn in Estonia, Riga in Latvia, and Vilnius in Lithuania.
The three Baltic states are all relatively small. For example, the distance between Tallinn, Estonia and Vilnius, Lithuania is just 328 miles or 528 kilometers.
The distance between Tallinn, Estonia and Riga, Latvia is just 172 miles or 280 kilometers.
Here are the areas in square kilometers of the three Baltic countries. We see that Estonia is the smallest of the three, although not by much, and Latvia and Lithuania are about the same size.
For purposes of comparison, I have added here the Netherlands and Denmark. We see that Estonia, the Netherlands and Denmark are all about the same size.
To get a better idea of the size, I have added here the U.S. states of West Virginia and Maryland. We see that Latvia and Lithuania are about the same area as West Virginia, and Estonia is between West Virginia and Maryland in size.
We see that the Baltic states have areas comparable to a smaller size U.S. state, such as West Virginia and Maryland.
Here is the population in millions of the three Baltic countries. We see that Estonia is the smallest of the three, followed by Latvia and then Lithuania with almost 3 times the population of Estonia.
For purposes of comparison, I have added here the U.S. states of Oklahoma, Utah, and Idaho. The population of Estonia is a little larger than that of Idaho and somewhat smaller than that of Utah. Latvia is comparable to Utah, and Lithuania to Oklahoma.
For further purposes of comparison, I have added here Denmark.
We see that the population of Estonia is a little larger than that of Idaho and somewhat smaller than that of Utah.
The population of Latvia is comparable to Utah.
The population of Lithuania is comparable to Oklahoma.
Here I have added the Netherlands.
Here is the population of the principal cities of the Baltic region. We see that the population is generally in the range of 500,000.
Now St. Petersburg has been added.
Here are the population densities of the three Baltic countries in terms of population per square kilometer.
To put this in better perspective, I have added here the figures for the U.S. states of Missouri, Wisconsin, and Georgia. We see that the population density of Estonia is about the same as Missouri and Wisconsin, and Lithuania is comparable to Georgia.
Here I have added Denmark, which is a much more densely populated country.
And here I have added the Netherlands, which is even more densely populated.
Here is a physical or relief map of Europe showing the Baltic countries.
We see that most of the Baltic countries of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are relatively flat.
These Baltic countries are part of the North European plain that extends from northern France through Belgium, Germany, and Poland,
and then to the Ural Mountains in Russia. The land in the Baltic region is flat and relatively low elevation near the coast.
Elevations are generally less than 500 feet, and very few regions reach even or 1,000 feet or 300 meters.
Both Tallinn and Riga are important Baltic seaports, with Tallinn being the leader in bulk cargo tonnage. St. Petersburg is also an important port in the Baltic region.
Both Tallinn and Riga are important container ports, although far behind St. Petersburg and Gdynia.
What time is it in the Baltic region?
Here are the time zones and the time in various places in the world in terms of standard time, not daylight savings time.
Here are the European time zones.
Stockholm in Sweden is at GMT +1, which is 1 hour ahead of Greenwich Mean Time. Helsinki in Finland and the Baltic republics are at GMT +2, which is 2 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time.
St. Petersburg in Russia is at GMT +3, which is 3 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time.
When it's 12 noon in London, it is 1 p.m. in Stockholm and Berlin.
When it's 12 noon in London, it is 2 p.m. in Helsinki and Tallinn.
When it's 12 noon in London, it is 3 p.m. in St. Petersburg, Russia.
The peoples of the Baltic countries belong to different Christian denominations. Estonia and Latvia have Lutheran cultural backgrounds, while Lithuania is a Catholic country like neighboring Poland. At the same time, Russian minorities in these countries belong to the Russian Orthodox Church.
Following the long period of Tsarist and Soviet domination, ethnic Russian immigrants from the former USSR and their descendants today make up a sizable minority in the Baltic states, particularly in Latvia, about 1/3 of the population, and Estonia, 1/4 of the population.
Latvian and Lithuanian languages are Baltic languages that belongs to the Indo-European language family. Estonian is not an Indo-European language and instead belonged to Finno-Ugric languages.
After centuries of foreign domination, the Baltic countries re-emerged as independent nations after World War I in 1918 to 1920. After only 20 years of independence, the Baltic states were occupied by the Soviet Union from 1940 to 1991.
Latvian and Lithuanian languages are Baltic languages that belongs to the Indo-European language family. Estonian is not an Indo-European language and instead belonged to Finno-Ugric languages.
After centuries of foreign domination, the Baltic countries re-emerged as independent nations after World War I in 1918 to 1920. After only 20 years of independence, the Baltic states were occupied by the Soviet Union from 1940 to 1991.
This shows the location of Estonia in Europe.
The Republic of Estonia is bounded by Russia on the east, the Gulf of Finland on the north, and Latvia on the south.
Tallinn is the capital and largest city of Estonia.
Tallinn is by far the largest city in Estonia.
The three largest cities in Estonia are Tallinn, Tartu, and Narva.
Estonia has a maritime climate with wet, moderate winters, and cool summers.
Will it be warm in Tallinn, or will it be cold?
Here are temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year in Tallin.
Here are temperatures in degrees centigrade throughout the year in Tallin, together with the yearly average temperature.
Here is the precipitation throughout the year in Tallin. The total for the year average is 22.3 inches or 566 millimeters.
About 2/3 of the people of Estonia are ethnic Estonians. They are related to the Finns, the people of Finland. The Estonian language is much like Finnish. Russians make up more than 1/4 of Estonia's population. The country has small groups of Ukrainians, Belarusians, and Finns as well.
Estonia is highly industrialized. Today the country's major industries include the manufacture of electronics and machinery, including equipment for oil refining and mining. Estonia is known for its textiles, especially cotton cloth. Food processing and woodworking are also important activities.
A key part of industry in Estonia is the mineral called oil shale, a rock from which oil and fuel gas are taken. Shale oil is burned in power plants to produce electricity. Much of this electricity is exported to neighboring countries.
Estonia has a chemical industry that relies on shale and manufactures fertilizers, detergents, and other products.
Estonian language.
This map shows the language families in Europe. The green area is the area of the Indo-European language family. We see that it covers almost all of Europe and includes the Romance, Germanic, and Slavic language families.
The few exceptions are the Finno-Ugric language, spoken in Finland, Estonia, and Hungary, the Basque language in the Pyrenees in the north of Spain, and the Turkic language of Turkey.
Estonian belongs to the Finno-Ugric group of languages. The people who first spoke that language lived somewhere to the east of the Ural Mountains.
Today, there are several small Finno-Ugric regions, all small, in northern Europe, in the Volga and Ural region, and in Siberia and the Russian far north. Although geographically isolated, Hungarian is also Finno-Ugric.
This shows the group of related languages known as the Indo-European family of languages.
Although the language spoken in Estonia is not part of the Indo-European family of languages, the languages spoken in Lithuania and Latvia, or Lettish, do belong to that group.
Lithuanian and the Latvian language, Lettish, are closely related members of the Balto-Slavic language group.
Finno-Ugric languages are not part of the Indo-European family of languages. Estonian is thus not related to the Slavic languages such as Russian, Ukrainian, Czech, or Polish. Anglo-German languages such as English, German, Dutch, or Swedish. Baltic languages, Latvian and Lithuanian. Romance languages such as French, Italian, or Romanian.
Estonia joined the Eurozone in the beginning of 2011, so the official currency is the euro.
All coins in the Eurozone have the same obverse, or front side. Each individual country, however, has its own reverse side as shown here for Estonia. Nevertheless, the coins are mutually acceptable in all Eurozone countries.
Tallinn and Estonian history.
Estonia has been populated by the native Finno-Ugric Estonians since prehistory. The Vikings first arrived in the years 800 to 900.
In 1219, the Danes took the city and built a fortress on Toompea Hill. The name Tallinn comes from the Estonian words for Danish castle.
In 1227 Estonia was first Christianized when the German Crusader Knights, the Livonian sword brethren, and Denmark conquered the land.
In 1285 Tallin joined the trading network of the Hanseatic League.
In 1346 the Teutonic Knights, one of the crusading orders, bought the city from the Danes. They held it until 1561.
Powers that controlled Estonia and the other Baltic states at various times included Germany, Denmark, Sweden, Poland and Russia.
In 1433 Tallin and its trade suffered severely from fire. In 1532, there was an outbreak of the plague, and in 1569 to 1570, Tallin was attacked by the Danes.
In 1577 Tallin was attacked by the Russians, and in 1710 Tsar Peter the Great of Russia captured Tallin. Tallin remained a Russian possession until 1918.
Estonia attains independence after World War I in 1918 after centuries of Danish, Swedish, German, and Russian rule, with Tallinn as the capital.
The name Tallinn became official, replacing the previous name of Revel. In 1940 Estonia was forcibly incorporated into the USSR as the Estonian Soviet Socialist Republic. Estonia was occupied by Nazi Germany during World War II.
The Baltic Germans were ethnically German inhabitants of the Baltic countries of Estonia and Latvia. Although they never made up more than 10% of the total population, they were the social, commercial, political and cultural elite in that region for over 700 years, until the independence of those countries in 1918. At the beginning of World War II in 1939, the Baltic Germans were forced by the German government to leave and be resettled in German-controlled areas to the west.
Estonia was reoccupied by the Soviet Union in 1944. Many Russians come to live in the city, while many Estonians flee to the country or are exiled by the Soviets.
As a result, ethnic Russians make up 24% of the population of present-day Estonia, with a high concentration in Tallinn.
With the collapse of the Soviet Union, Estonia regained its freedom in 1991.
The last Russian troops left in 1994. Estonia became free to promote economic and political ties with Western Europe.
In 2004, Estonia joined both NATO and the European Union.
Tallinn.
Tallinn is situated on the southern coast of the Gulf of Finland, in north-central Estonia.
We will be docked at this port.
The port is close to Old Town. The ship will dock close to the center of town, about a 30 to 40-minute walk.
This is the Old Town and the Toompea Hill overlooking Old Town.
Toompea is the oldest part of Tallinn.
Tallinn has historically consisted of three parts, the first of which is the Toompea Domburg or Cathedral Hill, which was the seat of the central authority, first of the ruling bishops, then the Teutonic Order, and then the Baltic German nobility.
This satellite view shows the ship, Old Town, and Toompea Hill.
This is the slightly closer view.
Toompea, German, Domburg, or Cathedral Hill, is a limestone hill in the central part of the city.
Toompea is about 60 to 90 feet, 20 to 30 meters, higher than the city around it and covers an area of about 750 by 1200 feet, 250 by 400 meters.
The Toompea is today the seat of the Estonian government and many embassies and residencies.
This is the Estonian Parliament building on Toompea.
The Estonian Parliament building.
The Toompea Castle, Castrum Danorum, is topped by the Pic Hermann, Tall Hermann, Tower. The tower's first part was built in 1360 to 1370, and rebuilt taller in the 16th century.
The flag on the top of the tower is one of the best-known symbols of the government in power.
This is one of the gates to Toompea Hill.
During the subsequent different rulers, Teutonic Order, Sweden and Imperial Russia, Toompea, as a separate upper town part of Tallinn, was able to retain a variety of special rights and privileges, the last of which remained in the books until 1889. Toompea was joined with other parts of Tallinn, the lower town, in 1878.
The much rebuilt Toompea Castle, now housing the Estonian Parliament, still dominates Lossiplatz, Castle Square, where the Orthodox Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, completed in 1900 in an immediately recognizable Russian style, overtops it.
Other notable sites in Toompea include the building of the Government of Estonia, the Stenbock House, and the Lutheran Cathedral, Toomkirk. The Stenbock House was built in 1792, and is now a government building, and is the residence of Estonia's Prime Minister.
This is the Lutheran Cathedral or Toomkirk, from which the name Toompea Domburg was originally derived.
Alexander Nevsky Cathedral on Toompea was built in from 1894 to 1900.
This is the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral.
The Old Town is the old Hanseatic town, the city of the citizens.
The Old Town was not administratively united with Toompea Hill until the late 19th century.
The Old Town was the center of medieval trade on which it grew prosperous.
This is Ryhova-Platz, or Town Hall Square.
Here is a map of the Old Town section of Tallinn.
The Town Hall Square is dominated by the only surviving Gothic town hall in Northern Europe.
The Town Hall, or Rajkoda, built between 1371 and 1404, has been the seat of power in the medieval Lower Town for centuries. There is an interesting museum about the city of Tallinn, and the Town Hall itself downstairs in the Town Hall.
This is the old Reapteek, town pharmacy, and a traditional house on Rajkoda-Platz, Town Hall Square.
This is one of the old town gates.
Although extensively bombed during the latter stages of World War II, much of the medieval Old Town still retains its charm.
This is Old Town Tallinn.
A view of Old Town Tallinn.
This is another view of Old Tallinn.
Tallinn Old Town became a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage Site in 1997.
Here are the closely packed buildings of Old Town.
This is Old Town looking toward the port.
This is the city wall of Old Town Tallinn.
St. Olav's Church, Olavist-Kirk, once the tallest in the world, is still the tallest building in Old Tallinn.
At the end of the 15th century, a new 159-meter-high Gothic tower was built for St. Olav's Church. This was then one of the highest towers in Europe, and possibly the highest building in the world.
Between 1549 and 1625, St. Olav's Church was the tallest building in the world.
After rebuilding, following a fire, the tower of St. Olav's Church is 400 feet or 123 meters high.
This is the spire of the Olavist Church.
This is the busy square in Old Town.
The Old Town is set in a ring defensive walls built around a hill.
A view of Old Town.
Here is a street in the picturesque Old Town of Tallinn.
This is the Old Town of Tallinn.
Another view of the Old Town of Tallinn.
Old Town of Tallinn.
The Estonian town forms a crescent to the south of the Old Town, where the Estonians came to settle.
It was not until the mid-19th century that ethnic Estonians replaced the local Baltic Germans as the majority residents of Tallinn.
This is a view of the modern center of Tallinn.
This is the port area of modern Tallinn.
This is a cruise ship in the port area of Tallinn.
Here are pictures of modern Tallinn.
Here are more pictures of modern Tallinn.
Here is a view of modern Tallinn from Old Town.
A good way to see some of the principal sights of Tallinn, especially for first-time visitors, is by a hop-on hop-off bus tour. One such tour is offered by City Sightseeing.
City Sightseeing offers 3 loops, with durations of between 50 to 75 minutes. This is a map showing the 3 sightseeing loops.
These are stops on the historic center and Old Town route tour, which takes an hour to make a complete loop.
The open-air museum loop takes 1 hour for the complete tour. The Pier Rita and historic suburbs loop is 75 minutes.
All 3 loops make stops at the cruise ship terminal where tickets can be bought, and the bus is boarded. The main stop for all 3 lines in the city is at Mirpest 5 in front of the Russian Cultural Center, 100 meters from Viru Square.
This shows the location of the main stop for all 3 lines in the city at Mirpest 5 in front of the Russian Cultural Center, 100 meters from Viru Square.
This shows the location of the main stop for all 3 lines in the city at Mirpest 5 in front of the Russian Cultural Center, 100 meters from Viru Square.
Other hop-on hop-off bus tours are offered by the Tallinn City Tour Read buses. Tallinn City Tour hop-on hop-off. London-style Read double-decker buses takes you to several different routes through Tallinn.
There is a red line covering the town center, Kadriorg and the seaplane harbor, a green line connecting Pirita, the TV tower and the Botanic Gardens, and a blue line that takes you to the Estonian Open Air Museum and the zoo.
These are the stops of the 3 loops of the Tallinn City Tour Read buses. One may get off the bus at any of these stops, and then reboard at any bus later on. Information for each location is provided in 10 languages.
All 3 lines start from Viru Square, in front of the Viru Souvenir Market. However, all 3 loops make stops at the cruise ship terminal where tickets can be bought, and the bus is boarded.